Okay, welcome back to our Altered Book Journal series. We're going to get right into it. I'm not going to have much of an introduction today. I've been doing some work ahead without videoing just to get some papers done so I can start decorating this book and get it completed. Now, everything that I've shown you in the cool colors, you're going to be able to do in the warm colors if you're following what I'm following. You're using a rainbow palette where you're using all the colors, or you're using some sort of completely collage, palette. And for backgrounds, that's totally fine. Keep working till you have enough to cover your pages. If you're working directly in your book where you're painting your pages on your book, keep working until they're all covered. And then we'll get into making the flips and the folds and the pockets and things. Because a lot of my pages, especially as I get into the warm, I'm going to be directly painting on the pages just because collaging can bulk up your book. So there's going to be several pages that have collaging, but most of it's going to be painting directly in the book. It's just harder for me to do that to show you because I have to wait for the page to dry before I can move on to the next page. It's much easier for me to go ahead and show you the techniques that I'm using on separate papers and then use them as collage fodder, either in this project or another project or, that kind of thing. I just want to make sure you've got the understanding of what I'm doing and what you can do. I mean, it's endless what you can do to get your pages decorated, to get your pages covered. You can do pretty much anything. I do want to get into the reverse coloring book page. I did mention that in one of the videos that we would do a reverse coloring book page from the reverse coloring book that I showed you with watercolors. So if you're interested in that, we're going to do that right now. We're just going to do a quick one. It's probably not even going to be dry, but at the end of the video, I'll show you what it looks like. Hopefully it'll be dry. If it's not, it's fine. But we're going to go ahead and do it real quick, get that done, and then I'm going to show you what I've been doing on my own off camera. All right, here we are on my workstation. I have my watercolor set. This is just a cheap set I got. I don't think I paid more than maybe anywhere from $5 to $8 for it. And again, here's our reverse coloring book by Kendra Norton. It has the colors and you draw the lines. So we talked about this before, and you can do something as simple as watercolor dots. It doesn't have to be anything eccentric or detailed. It can just be, again, for backgrounds. And see, I put I don't know if you can see that, but I drew the lines for this. I drew a octopus there. Or maybe that's it. It doesn't have to be detailed. As you can see, I drew I think that's a jellyfish. I'm not sure. And then there's a ladybug right here. So you draw in the lines. I do like this book a lot. It's a very cool book to get doodles out. We're going to be doing something more along this lines where it's just splotches and they bleed together. Each layer should dry so you don't get too much of this muddied look. As you can see, it looks, all the brown and almost black looking splotches where the colors mixed while they were wet. So it's nice if you can, even something like this where it's just strokes. This reminded me of a cityscape, which is why I drew buildings there. Again, brush strokes, let that dry, then circles or doodles. All right, let's get to creating our own. I'm just going to use, I don't have any watercolor paper. I'm just going to use a piece of regular old copy paper. I'm going to wet it down a little bit beforehand, just so the colors kind of bleed. And I'm going to wet my palette as well. And these are brand new. I haven't used them. I've used watercolor pencils the last time I was watercoloring. So that's why we have this. And I think I'm going to just, for the sake of the video and time, because I want to get back to what I was doing, I'm just going to use this big brush to get it all down. And I'm going to wet it. I'm going to wet this paper down a little bit more. That way it just bleeds really well. And this page I'm probably not going to use in this particular project, so I'm going to move away from my cool and warm palette and just use a rainbow of colors for this to show you what you can do. .65% dry, so we're partly dry. So now I'm going to use this smaller brush to go ahead and put some extra designs within here. And I don't know if I'm going to use the matching color or if I'm going to use an opposite color or just, I haven't decided yet. So we will see what happens, what shakes out. I feel like there needs to be something more here. I do like this light blue, but I feel like it was not quite enough. I don't want to use the darker blue because I've got enough blue in here. I want to see what this color looks like, but I'm not sure about it. Or I could do brown, but I don't want to do anything too dark in this area. So maybe we'll go back over with this light blue just to keep it open, just to keep it light. Because again, I don't want anything too dark right there. It might require doing 2 or 3 layers of this light blue to make it pop out like I want on that green. And to be honest, I could mix a drop of this with it. Let's do that. Let's mix this light blue and that medium blue together over here on the side. And then we're gonna pick up a little bit of this medium blue just to give it a little more depth without it being too dark. More of a periwinkle. There we go. All right, so we are done. This is going to dry while I do my other things. I honestly did not mean for this part of the video to take this long, but there we are. We are done. And it looks pretty cool. It does definitely have that reverse coloring book look to it. You could definitely use this as a page, a full page, or a cut in half page, or you could tear it up into little pieces and use it as collage within your projects. It just depends on you. Because this doesn't fit the color scheme that I'm going for in my current altered journal, I'm not going to be using it, so it's okay. I'm going to put it to the side, but it will get used in some future project. Okay, let's get back to what we're doing here. I haven't quite figured out my pocket yet, so it's not there. We did this on the last video. I did this on my own. I used those 2 flowers from the last video. That I used the oil pastels, which are quite chalky and rubbing off a little bit, so not going to be using those again anytime soon in something like this, without some kind of a fixative spray to put on it so it doesn't rub off. But I did this one on my own. This is our first flip. And I haven't done anything else but make collage papers. And remember, chapter 11 is where we're going to be switching to the warm colors. I left that little paintbrush in there. So I did a lot of work on my own off camera, and I'm pleased to say that I have more than enough papers. But I wanted to show you some stenciling, so I have these few pages here that I did some backgrounds on real quick. So I put them into sections of light, medium, and darks. These are the more light, brightly, colored backgrounds. These are the kind of medium-ish backgrounds. And these tend to be a little bit darker backgrounds and have little darker hues to them in the back. So I've done a lot. This I started doing some stenciling on using some little stencils that I have here. And I found the best way to do stenciling for me, because I don't have like a stencil dabber, is to just use some of the baby wipes. But remember, I don't have baby wipes. I'm using these Wet Ones pet wipes because my cat doesn't like it. So instead of wasting my money, I'm just going to use them for art. And so I found that putting the stencil on, getting a little paint on the wipe, and then rubbing it lightly so that it goes between the pieces, and they're actually good for cleaning the stencils as well. 2 more. So let's do some stenciling on here. As you can see, this is a book page from the book that we're actually using as our altered book. This had a huge picture on it, and so I made this darker, deeper blue to put on there. It's almost like a really dark teal. And because it's such a huge pattern, you can still kind of see that through it. I was thinking of doing some black, but I didn't know which of these to do black with. Maybe these small circles. I've already used this and I've already used this. I don't want to use too much of the same. But I really like this too, and I could cover the whole entire page with it if I wanted to. And maybe do a gray with the black and white mix. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. And I think I'm going to do it right here on my my cereal box paper. So this is what the cereal bag comes in. Inside the cardboard box of cereal, you get these bags where the actual cereal's in. And these are what I use a lot of times to cover up my space that I'm working on. It might have been. And I'm not even going to dirty up a brush for this. I'm going to just try and use, actually, let's use the little knife, the little plastic knife. I really need to get me a palette knife, but until that happens, this is what we've got. That almost looks silverish. I definitely need a palette knife. But you use the resources you have. You don't have to have expensive things or actual art things to do art. And that's really the point I want to get across with all of this series. I'm not an artist. I did not go to school for art. I mean, other than falling in love with art and being artistically inclined for most of my life, I didn't take, art classes or anything like that. I just like being creative, and I just have a natural creativity. So now that you have the internet, you're able to be exposed to even more creative, processes, and I love that. So I look at videos and I say, how can I do that with what I have already? And how can I make something like that my own? I'm going to just use one finger, I think. 2 fingers is more difficult. I need the other finger to hold this. Okay, so I'm just going to lightly rub, and I'm hoping, because this is thinner than the other ones, I'm hoping that this works. All right, fingers crossed. I'm gonna lift this up and see what we've got. And lift it straight up. Ah, I knew it muddied a little. I could feel it going up under there. I could. I wasn't able to lay this quite flat because it's so big. So with that said, we're gonna move it to the side and try a smaller one that I can hold down better. Let's try this one. I don't know what I'm doing wrong with this today, but it's kind of muddied. I'm not sure what I'm doing. The other ones turned out fine, and I'm not sure why that is, that I'm having such a difficult time, of course, on camera. Let's try, I'm going to do part with this sponge. As a matter of fact, I think this comes off. Does it come off? Not really. Let's use this sponge that we've been using in the past for painting. Let's use this sponge and see if that helps us. I'm going to probably need to get a stencil dauber if this keeps happening. All right, so I'm going to do half. Not even half, let's do a third. And I'm going to use this sponge this time and see if this helps me any. Get some of the excess paint off. Maybe I'm using too much paint. Let's see what we get. Ah, it moved on me. That's actually not bad though. All right, I did feel it move. All right, so we did it with the sponge. Now I'm going to do this next section with the rag. Trial and error. Trial and error. I'm still going to use the error pages in my art because if they're torn up into collages, it's not going to matter. That's better. That's definitely better. All right, we're going to keep going. Gonna keep going. That's not bad. All right, so there's your stenciling. I'm going to move on to getting some of my pages in my altered book done. And I'll come back when I have like the last 2 pages ready to show you what I've done so far. And I'll show you the last 2 pages on camera. Okay, everybody, my desk is a mess. I'm in the middle of creating. I want to get this book done. There's a lot going on, and I want to move on to something else that I'm excited to do, which will not be a video series. It's just something personal, art-wise for myself. So I've got my heavy book sitting on top of the book we've been working on. It needs to sit overnight, but for right now, I want to show you what I've got, and when I'm going to move on to another 1 or 2 pages on this video. So the cover will be last, and I think what I'm going to do is just put some black paint on it until I can decide what I want to do with it, because I haven't decided. I think I have to finish the whole book until I decide. Let's just do a little walkthrough of what we have now. Inside this cover, I used some of my papers that I use, paper towels that I use to clean my brush off on when I'm painting. And I made that into a pocket, and I put some of the pieces in here that I have been ripping off and using inside. This is our first flip that we have, which is a single flip. I used some of the magazine and picture book circles that I had punched out with my circle punch to give a little bit of, you know, something. The texture that you're seeing, this is just gauze. It's just regular old gauze for like first aid kit gauze. So I was in the middle of recording and just noticed that I was getting absolutely 0 footage. And so I'm going to go back to where I left off, and then I will explain what I just did because I can't redo it. So I think I left off over here. Okay, so I was saying how this was just regular first aid gauze right here. And I'm not sure if I showed you this or not, but it is a tuck spot using the paper towel wipe off, paintbrush wipe off. And that is a place where you can write, or you could do some sketching, depending on what you're using your journal for. Then we've got our page after that, which has the belly band, which is something that's glued top and bottom, used as a tuck spot like on the last page, but a different type of tuck spot. Here I've just used some of my collage papers on the white cardstock, and this is an old kid's flashcard that I covered with some of the same type of collage paper that we've been making, painting papers that we've been making. Here we have our spread here. I left it open. You could write here, you could paint here, you could add more collaging here. There's lots you can do. I just used this little picture to show you what a cutout would look like if you wanted to maybe put something on this page up here. Then you could have a cutout for it. Again, pockets with some of the papers we've been making. I just took a sheet that I had extra paint. I cleaned off the extra paint because I didn't feel like throwing paint away. I don't like throwing paint away. So I'll just take a piece of paper and paint it, so that gives me a background for something later. That's something you could continue painting on, collaging on, whatever. Then we've got our first flip up, or half flip pocket, because we're going to be doing another one together soon here. That's a down flip. So this is a flip up, again using collage papers here and there, leaving this blank for writing, journaling, or adding more collage. Some little baby cards. I use some kids, you know, Dollar Tree flashcards, just covered them up with the papers that I've been making. A pocket. This pocket, the clear part of this pocket is just some old wax paper that I was using in between pages when they were drying. Here we go with another paper that we could write on or continue collaging, painting. There are more things you could do there. Here's a nice big spread that you could write a quote or something on. You could journal on each page separately or across the whole page. Or you could even put a focal point, some kind of picture here. You could sketch something out and put it here. This I haven't done anything with. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, so I'm going to just leave it as is for now. And now we're getting to the transition page. This page, I decided to go ahead and use all the colors from my cool section and then use my grounding yellow, because we know that the yellow is moving with us from the cool now over to the warm. And so that's what we're going to be doing. As I create colors for painting in this next warm section, I will add them to this until we get, you know, to the darker reds, like a dark, deep burgundy or something. This page is going to be a single flip down, like we had a single flip up here, or I mean a half flip up. This is going to be a single flip half size. And I'm going to be using the other half that I cut in half. I'm going to be doing that with you today on camera, so you can see how that's done. It's going to be down there. This is my double pocket page. Now, I messed up in gluing and completely didn't follow my plan. When it came to my double pocket on the top, I needed to not glue the two book pages together. I needed to glue the side and the bottom together only, and I completely forgot because I kind of forgot about following my plan that we made in the beginning of this series. So what I've done is I've just taken those papers that I had that I bought at the thrift shop. I've just taken those and glued them in the middle, the two sides, and then the bottoms. And so now I've got my double pockets. But normally you would use the book pages for that, not add in extra pages. We don't want the bulk of an extra page, but I wanted to show you how to do it. So I'll be painting and doing something on this to prep it for being a pocket. So it's now a pocket. This one we plan on doing a Dutch door. I have not done a Dutch door with you yet. So we're going to be cutting or tearing or ripping or whatever I decide when I get there, two of these pages into this full page. So this will have some sort of rip or tear, and it's going to show the next page, and then the next page will have some sort of rip or tear, and it'll show the full on this. They will kind of flow together in some sort of a color scheme. Haven't decided what I'm doing there yet. And then on and on. This will be a double flip out, like our single flip over here, where it has one flip page. That'll be our double flip out page, and that's going to have two pages flipped out. So, and then that's it. We're going to be done after that. These pages, except for this one that we're going to do together, when I get to the Dutch doors, I will show you how to do that on camera. And then when we get to the double flip, I'll show you how to do that on camera. But the pages in between, I'm going to just work on off camera. So the single flip, I'm going to show you how to tape that up and make it, but I'm going to do the painting and stuff off camera. All right, I've got my masking tape. I've got this piece here, and I'm going to cut it down just slightly on this side because I don't want it the exact same size. This is the page that came out of this book, and I don't want it the exact same size. Where are my scissors? Slightly, so it's just inside of the size. So, like about that much. We can toss that. I'm not saving that. Yeah, that's good, because I don't want it too thick here. And we're going to just do half and half. So half on this side. So you're going to take about, oops, that moved the last second. Okay. So we're going to take half on this side. And we want to leave a little gap because we want it to fold nicely. Don't know if you can see that well. Let me zoom in so you can see that. You want there to be a gap. See where it's not touching? The paper is not touching. They're not touching each other. There's a gap of masking tape. We want that fold to fold nicely and not be forced. So we want that little gap edge. And then we're gonna just tear another piece and put it on this side. Okay, so there we go. So that's our flip down half size. And then I'm gonna round the corners like I said, and when I do any collaging, I will re-round the corners again. Each time I do any layers on it, I will re-round the corners. So I have to remember this is my warm section, so I'm gonna take my blue paint and put it away. So I don't want to accidentally make anything blue. We're done with blue and greens and stuff in the cools. So I didn't have any white tissue paper before, and so I was using the pages, which is fine, you can do that, but it does add a lot of bulk. Doing your collage painted papers, all of these papers basically should have been done on tissue paper. And the reason I say that is because tissue paper is so much thinner than regular paper, drawing paper, watercolor paper, any other paper. And you can pretty much do everything that we did here, you can pretty much do on tissue paper, pretty much for the most part. And so that's what I'm going to be doing for the warm section. You see how bulky my book is already with adding these pages in. So we're going to go ahead and use tissue paper for creating our warm palette collage papers. So I'm going to grab a few sheets. I'm probably not going to do as many sheets either. Like, I really got carried away in the cool section. I just was enjoying creating. And so I think I created way more collage papers than necessary. So let me move this out of the way. So we've got our white, our black, our red, our yellow, and then we have our gold and silver for accents or just for a little razzle dazzle here and there, which I did not use very much of those. So that's always something you could go back and add in later if you want to. Take your finger and dry brush and put some gold and silver accents here and there. You could do that. It's not something you got to do right away. So right now we're going to do some mark making. We're going to use our marking tools like my toilet paper roll or paper towel roll, whichever one you have, because you can just cut it down. I've got some other small circles here. I've got an old cat food can that I've been using to make circles. This is the cap of an old paint tube, a small paint tube. This is the cap from one of these that was finished. We've got our bubble wrap, which can make, oops, close it up. We've got our bubble wrap, which we can use for stamping. Here's the gauze I was talking about earlier. We've got our plastic wrap, which we can use for watercolor splotches. And then we can also stamp with, where is it? With our cuties / tangerine, we can stamp with that as well. So I'm gonna just put these things to the side and start with circles because that kind of gets me, you know, started. Usually I usually start with circles pretty well. So let's do some circles in black. Black is a good color to have for some collage fodder. So we're gonna do a little watered down black and make some circles. And the tissue paper actually dries much quicker than, you know, obviously the notebook paper or text, the paper from the book we're working on or any other kind of paper. Tissue paper is thin, it's gonna dry much quicker. And I'm just gonna mix this black in. I know it's making kind of a brown, but we're just gonna mix it in with the paint we already have here and call it a day. Okay, here are all the collage fodder. I did some in white as well. I used all of my mark making tools. I used my circles from the cat food can, from the paint top. I used some bubble wrap. I used the metal fork, and I used the end of a stick, like a skewer, to make little teeny baby circles. I also used a container that was kind of a square rectangle shape to make some of those shapes. So let's continue on. All right, I've gone ahead and worked ahead in my book with the flip. This is not quite matching like I thought, because I forgot about the underneath and came back later and did it and didn't quite get that color just right, but that's okay. I'm not gonna worry about it. So there's our page with the flip. I'm still gonna do some more on this with adding some collage most likely. But here is our 2-page pocket that we talked about. I haven't done anything here yet. I think I'm gonna do some watercolor on here. And then I went ahead and cut or ripped my pages for the Dutch door. So the first one is the shortest, the next one is a little longer, and then the final one that's going to be part of this spread is a little longer. Now all I have to do is my double flip out. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 2 pages onto here to make the double flip out. Once that's done, I'm going to do the rest of the book on off camera, and then the next video will be me doing a flip through of the finished book. So the double flip out is pretty easy. It's basically just going to be 2 of these pages that we had taped together, glued together before, and we're going to tape them, put something heavy on this side to keep it down. So we're going to tape these 2 together with a little gap like we did before, and then we're going to tape it to this so that there's 2 flip outs, and this will probably be one big scene or spread that'll go together once it's flipped out. I may or may not put pockets on pages. Maybe on this page will be a pocket or a tuck spot or something, but I have not determined that 100% right now. I just want to go ahead and get it taped and put in so I'll know what I'm working with before I get too carried away with working ahead and forget to make the double flip out. I don't want to forget to do it. So we're going to do the same thing here, leave a little gap and put a piece of tape, and then I'll flip the book over and do the same thing on the other side. I like to reinforce it a little bit. I was thinking about doing a sunset scene on this one, because we're in the warm colors with the oranges and the reds and the purples, doing one big sunset scene. Maybe something from VanLife, maybe putting a van over here with some water and the sunset over the water, because that's one of my most favorite scenes and most favorite things to be near is water, especially when I was in the van full time. Let me flip this over. And we're gonna tape. So there's our double flip, and then our last page is going to have, it's a 2-page spread. Our last page, which is here, is a 2-page spread with a pocket. We're gonna put a pocket on this side like we put a pocket on the inside front cover. It's gonna be a pocket on this side. So that's a little paint that oozed through, it's okay. So we've got the potential to make 2 really big spreads if I want to make them all go together, but I think this is just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 panel spread here. So when it flips in, you see it flips in like that. This book is getting nice and chunky. As you can see, we're definitely getting that alligator mouth that I talked about earlier in the series. And if you don't want a full page flip, you could definitely cut these into half pages. And I could make this up. You could make this a pocket, a diagonal pocket, gluing here. And this could be a pocket instead of a double flip. It could be many things that you add onto this. You could add different paper. It doesn't have to be the paper that came with the book that you're adding in. I'm just using the paper that came with the book because it just made sense. But yeah, I actually might cut this into half. I haven't decided. Maybe make this half so it's a flip, and then a flip, you know, maybe half flips, you know, because we could fold this in half, cut this one in half, and then have little mini flips instead of full page flips. So it would be basically flip, flip, flip. So this would be a half like that. So matter of fact, let's do that. Why don't we do that? And I'm just gonna take this, line it up here. I'm gonna line it up underneath the crease that we made. So when it folds, it's not folding where the crease is. And then I'm just gonna use my ruler to tear it. There we go. So we've got a flip. And we're gonna do the same kind of thing here. We're gonna fold this. Get my bone folder. Make it a nice, sharp, crisp crease. Okay, so we've got a flip, flip, and a flip. So now it's fatter on the end. See, the bulk is on the end now. So yeah. Okay. So now we've got a multiple flip there. So it's kind of a triple flip out if you think about it. But no, it's a double. All right, a double and a half, or 1 1/2. All right, so we've got that folded in. And then, like I said, we have the end. This is not the end, this is the end. Then we have one more here. There's a lot to do, a lot. And I really should have after I've taken out more pages from this book, I feel like this book has overwhelmed me. Big time. I added that color that I made to this, the darker version of it. I added it here, and so as I make more colors, I'll start adding them there. But all right. Okay, so now you know how to add those pages and things in. So just now go crazy. Decorate like crazy. Do whatever it is you're going to do. And in the next video, this book will be done, and I'm going to do a flip through of it, of all the done pages for you. And you can just take a look at some of the examples that I've put in it. I'm gonna finish this book up off camera. I hope you've been enjoying the series. I hope you have altered your book as well. And I can't wait to see you in the next video when I show you the done finished product.